And right now we have the latest on Tropical Storm Idalia as the new 5 p.m. advisory is just coming out. South Florida will soon feel some of the system's impacts.
Yes, let's get right to next weather. Chief meteorologist and hurricane specialist Ivan Cabrera. He's got the very latest on this advisory.
All right, guys. Yeah, as you said, the 5 p.m. advisory is in. We were waiting to see if this was going to be upgraded yet to a hurricane. It has not. It is still 70-mile-an-hour tropical storm, but on the verge of becoming a hurricane, and the forecast really hasn't changed all that much. We're expecting this to still not just become a hurricane, but a major hurricane, Category 3. And in fact, it looks even worse for our good friends up and towards the Big Bend north of Tampa. This is the latest satellite imagery. On the northern side of Idalia, we've had some gusty northwest winds up above, and that's what we call the wind shear. So it's been affecting its ability to really get ramped up here, but we're expecting that wind shear to lessen as it enters into the eastern Gulf of Mexico tonight and as we head into tomorrow. So there it is at 70 miles an hour. Pressure still at 987. They have been sending all sorts of planes into not just the tropical storm here, but also to across the eastern Gulf of Mexico. What we're doing is surveying the conditions, the steering currents, the wind shear, to see what kind of environment Idalia is going to be in. And by the time we get into tonight, new computer model forecast will have that new ingested data. 105 hurricane Tuesday p.m. and there you see it Wednesday morning. That is the peak there. A Category 3 storm of 120 miles an hour. The intensity can shift a little bit down. It can shift a little bit up certainly here, but notice the cone safely away from us. This is important with a hurricane, the cone is, because that's where the center of circulation is likely to pass. And that, of course, around the eye is where the strongest of the winds would be. That said, we still have impacts east, particularly east of a hurricane that moves in that direction towards the north, and it bends up towards the panhandle by the time we get into the middle part of the week. Is a 90-mile-an-hour hurricane, and then eventually does move off to the east. So we'll be tracking Idalia for quite some time here. But for you and me, what matters is, I think, the gusty winds that we're going to have to deal with, some squally weather that moves through, and yes, the potential for some tropical storm conditions, particularly across the lower Keys from the 7 Mile Bridge on the west side there down towards Key West. That's where a tropical storm watch continues in effect. Remember, the watch means conditions for a tropical storm are possible. The warning is upgraded when we're getting much closer to it and conditions are likely to be of tropical storm. I want to put this in motion because I think this depicts it nicely, one of our computer model forecasts. So we have the rain and we have the gusts. Notice already tonight the storms begin to increase. It's those outer bands that begin to come in, and those contain 20, 30-mile-an-hour winds across Key West. There's the core of the storm as we head in through tomorrow. Notice the wind field beginning to pick up. So the Keys, you'll be dealing with pushing 40-mile-an-hour winds, perhaps even up to 50-mile-an-hour winds as that band moves in. I think this is the main show for us tomorrow right here. This particular band that sets up and then moves to the north and east. That's the one that's going to contain the strongest winds of this event, and that's the one that's going to contain the strongest rain of this event as well. Before everything pulls up to the north, we're still going to have gusty conditions by the time we get into a Wednesday, but things will have improved by then. Storm surge, not much of a factor here. We're going to have some minor saltwater flooding in places like the lower Keys, but it's really where the center is going to make landfall and points to the south there that are really going to get that onshore flow and that big storm surge. All right.